Well, hello everyone. It's me, it's Rob, and I've got my panel here for this Tuesday night live stream here on YouTube, excuse me. And tonight we're going to be discussing album cover art. What makes great album cover art? What makes for bad album cover art? And I've got a panel of great people with me tonight. And so first, I've got Shaun Swanson from the Gentlemen Grifters. How you doing tonight?
Doing great. Glad to be here.
And you're coming to us from Howard tonight.
Howard up by Green Bay.
Wonderful. And another Green Bay guy, Mr. David Richards from Bring Studios of Lockmore. How are you?
I am doing well. How are you, Rob?
Good. Good to have you here tonight.
Good to be here. It's awesome.
And Julia Blair from Dusk. How are you tonight?
I'm doing great. Feeling good.
And I can see that sunset right behind
you.
Yeah,
right. I know.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Late.
Not used to having the sunshine this late now, but
I know.
Thank you for joining us tonight. And we've got Frank Anderson. Welcome back to the live stream, Frank. And Matty Day is joining us.
Hi.
And you're also from Green Bay.
Yeah, I didn't know this was live or streamed. I thought this was an audio thing. Hi, everyone. Here's my basement.
Wonderful. Well, we are going to be talking about album cover art tonight. And I'm so glad to have these folks with me. And we're going to dive right into it. And we're going to talk about first, what makes for good album cover art? And, I'm going to actually kick it off with Shaun, because he's a designer, he's an artist. And what to you are like the ingredients for good album cover art?
I think that good album cover art is the same thing that makes any kind of commercial art good. You can go into the technical stuff of the composition and the contrast and the framing and all of that stuff, but really you are trying to catch people's eye, and especially in the bygone days of browsing through stuff in record stores when you were looking for records or CDs. You didn't have internet algorithms telling you which bands you were going to like. It was word of mouth, or you were in that record store and you were kind of judging a book by its cover, or literally judging an album by its cover to say, okay, this looks rad. This looks like something that I would like to check out.
Yeah. David, you own Bring Studios, an agency in Green Bay, and I've seen your work and it's excellent. What to you are those ingredients?
Well, I would agree with what Shaun was saying in the fact that if you're looking at it back in the day when you used to go into record stores and be looking at a wall of 12 by 12 art, you wanted something that would jump off the shelf, right? Because it was selling the brand or selling the idea for the album. So like graphic design, you want something that's either visually led or it's headline driven, or it's a big type, or it's really clean, right? So you want it to jump off the shelf and then somewhat explain what's inside, right? So I was thinking back to when we always used to go to the record store and browse through and read the album covers and read the liner notes and everything too, So that was part of the big sell. Everyone has the 80-20 rule, and I would say that the music was probably 80% and the album cover was probably 20% back then, right? Because it was such a big part of the product, right? So, and as Shaun says, those days have gone, because now you've been relegated to like a half inch by half inch on your phone, right? So, but not saying that thought shouldn't to go into it, and it should still be part of the album too. So
Sure.
yeah.
Now, Julia, welcome to the podcast. And just you as part of Dusk, now the band has released a number of albums.
Mhm.
And going vinyl now, who does your album cover work?
Well, we work on them together as a group. Our first album is a embroidery piece that I made, but we like all kind of talked about the concept together, and then I made this big piece, which I can show you guys if you want. But and the second album was like a photo, but we took like a ton of photos, and then we all kind of like worked on designing it together. I would say Amos and Ridley kind of spearheaded the second album.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Matty, you too. I mean, last year you released an album called Metadata, and one of the I thought the cover was striking. With you were able to use the Fox Cities PAC for a shoot with Alex and Sam, and man, pulling that together, I mean, did you have a designer on hand, or was that your idea? Or
I knew the guy. He's since retired. I think that's why he let me do it. But he was he was in charge of operations at the PAC, and he was retiring a few months later. And the theater was open in summertime, and I just kind of, I don't know. I always planned on it even before I had permission. I wasn't very sure he was gonna say yes. I had no backup plan there, and then I don't know. I mean, had a couple things. At first, I was gonna have all the collaborators sit in the seats, but I thought it'd be funnier just to have Alex and Sam as the impatient janitorial staff in the wings. But then, I don't know. I mean, you said it's striking. That's what I was kind of going for. Just something unique because I knew I had access to this stage that I had no business being on otherwise. So.
Sure. Frank, I always love your perspective on things, and album covers. I look at what you have done musically over the years, and of course, covers play a part of that. I mean, the work that you've done here locally, but even back at Smart Studios in Madison for a number of those bands and such. I mean, did you ever have?
I should have picked one of those. Damn.
Did you have any input on artwork when you were working down there?
No, but I did submit covers to CBS for a band and Atlantic. And I had a nice chat with the CBS guy, and he told me that we can gauge exactly how many records we can sell through our album covers, through our art. He was convinced. And I said, no way, you can't do that. It's music, it's not the cover. But, and he showed me a bunch of covers, and every one of them bombed big time. I mean, they lost money all over well, they don't lose money. They wrote it off. And I've always wondered about that. I mean, when I was a kid, it was a wonderland. I think I'm the oldest one here. I'd buy album covers if they had a truck on the cover, or if there was a band with cool gear and great, attire. I remember the first album I bought was Dave Clark 5, and they had all their gear out. But better than that, they had their Beatle boots and peg pants and matching jackets. Stuff like that attracted my eye all the time. But what was the question? Oh, Smart. A record I played on Smart, I love the cover of, and if you can drag it up during the show, Dragline by Paw.
Okay.
They're a very random band. But they had my favorite cover of the entire Smart Studios. I mean, when did I record there? That'd be 87 to 98.
Okay. All right. And the days that you were doing art for, like you said, you submitted to Columbia and to Atlantic. I mean, we're now with Atlantic.
Rejected.
What's that?
Rejected.
Rejected. But Atlantic, I'm assuming by that, I mean, they're owned by Warner Brothers.
Right.
So you are basically dealing with WB people, not necessarily.
But I was anyway, because I was in the animation industry,
Yeah.
and that's how I got the gig.
Okay.
Not through music.
All right.
Or the submission, because I had an idea. And they did kind of use my idea, but they did it their way because they have in-house people. They want to do it, if it's a new band or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Well, one thing that we each did prior to the coming on live here was we each picked a couple of favorite album covers and at least one stinker, that something that we're not real thrilled with. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring up, and we're going to kind of just go through these.
That's beautiful.
And we're going to start with Julia's picks.
Oh, thanks.
And I love this. I love these throwback type of things. So tell us why you picked this one.
Well, I picked this one because I love Michael Hurley, and this is his first record. But I also love the Folkways like way of presenting records in this era. Like they're all kind of this what's it called? It's like the paper and then this sort of transparent like black and white photo. So it's all just like one color ink, and then obviously the text is a different color, and on the back it wraps around to just like a part of it, and it's really like textural, the Folkways records. And it's just I've like bought so many bad Folkways records because I see them like in the dollar bin and I just think they look awesome, and I'm like, oh man, this is gonna be like the coolest folk record, and then I just like don't like them. But I picked this one because I love Michael Hurley so much, and he's an American hero. And this is his Folkways record.
Is this an old album?
What's that?
Is old? Or
yeah, this is like from the kind of like, this was like, Greenwich Village-y sort of folk times, like 60s.
Cool. Okay. I was going to say it has like a Blue Note masthead, that kind of bar at the top.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Blue Note, has like a different formula, but same sort of thing where it like presents their artists in a similar way. Right. And I just love it.
It's cool.
Oh, yeah.
And now we've got Junie with Bread Alone.
Yeah. I mean, you really cannot beat this album cover. It is so fucking awesome because it's called Bread Alone. And I will say, like, I listened to this album today because it had been a while, and the title track is like definitely the like hottest track on the record. It's like pretty like kind of like yacht rocky R&B, I guess. I don't know how to describe it. I was wondering what Frank would think of this album if he heard it, because it's not quite Steely Dan, but it's like sort of in that wheelhouse. But it's just, I love literal art. I love that gimmick where it's like the name like is what it is, and there's no like nobody's trying to like hide anything. It's like the album's called Bread Alone, and he's sitting on a throne surrounded by bread, like drinking a martini. It's just amazing. Like you can't beat it.
All right,
that's fantastic.
Very cool.
And then this is your stinker, actually.
Yeah, this is my stinker. I figured, I really thought a lot about the stinker because it's like there's so much like bad graphic design and stuff like that, and I was like really tempted to like pull out one of those because it's funny. But this one is like an art crime in a different way, where Joni Mitchell is dressed up in blackface on the cover here. And, she should have known better, and she did this gimmick in this part of her career. It's highly unfortunate, and, it's a crime. It's an art crime, and that's a bad cover right there.
What's that guy saying?
What's that?
Is that a? Is he saying something?
Yeah, that's the album title, or the title of the album is Don Juan's Reckless Daughter.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, and so that is the little word bubble there.
Okay.
I love bad album covers. That's really bad.
Yeah, it's just she made a really bad choice. She did some live performances in this like blackface getup around this album coming out. It was like really, really bad. Not cool.
Oh, she must have been going through something.
Yeah.
Yay, Supertramp.
We're moving on to Shaun's picks. And his first one here is Supertramp Breakfast in America, classic album. So what made this one good for you?
Everything about this is perfect. It's just a perfect illustration from, you have the airplane window in the foreground, and there's actually an urban legend now that this album cover prophesied the 9/11 tragedy, because it's you can see the Twin Towers in the background there. But then obviously you have New York City made out of breakfast table stuff, and I assume that was a photograph that they airbrushed over or something, and then obviously the photo of the waitress as the Statue of Liberty. In my mind, everything about this is perfect.
And it's also pre-Photoshop, so this would have taken like months to do, right?
I'm guessing that it would. I mean,
Right. When was that? 70 something or early 80s?
This was late 70s. I'm thinking what, 78, 79?
That's
So
right.
just the technology would have been tough to do all that, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, well done though. And then your second one here, Iron Maiden.
Can you guys hear me? I'm dropping out here.
Yeah, go on.
Oh,
he's gone.
Lost him.
okay, we'll come back. And we'll go on to Frank's. And this one is a classic, The Byrds' Sweetheart of the Rodeo.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's to me it's beautiful, but also it's very sentimental, because that's the reason I play steel guitar, is that album.
Mm-hmm.
And it's jumped out at the record store to me, and it didn't sell very well in its day, but now of course it's gone on to be one of the greatest Byrds albums of all time. But it's actually, the cover is a tiny portion of a large map called The Evolution of Cowboys, and it was drawn by Joe Mora, who was a wonderful folk artist in the 20s, 30s, 40s, and his giant poster map, I should say, of the history of cowboys and their gear and their equipment is just a beautiful thing to look at. And hand watercolored. The original, which I have seen, is just massive. And I can't describe how small a part of that poster this is. But somebody at CBS picked it out and really nailed it with this one.
Mm-hmm. All right. And then your second one.
Did I pick that? Well, I did that. And I got to because I was in the band.
You did this album?
Actually, I made this before. We were about to do a project together, me and old friends and bandmates, and I made the poster to recruit the band. I said, we're going to be that kind of a band for a brief moment, let's say. And my favorite story with this is the label loved it, but one reviewer in Manchester hated our record so much. I mean, he hated it. He said first he tossed the CD out the window and he cheered because it hit a car. Then he took the cover and he was about to throw it and said, damn, I like this cover. I'm going to keep it.
Wow.
He hated the music, but he liked the cover. And I wrote him a nice thank you note. But I laughed when he threw the CD out, I laughed for at least an hour. It was the funniest review.
That is awesome.
And the record itself was released just when CD sales were really diving. I mean, like this. Major releases weren't selling. And somehow that thing sold 8,000 copies. I don't know. Germany, European, it was not released. I think it was released later in the United States, but I don't know much about the numbers.
That's a lot of CDs.
Yeah.
Well, it's a pretty large label. They're proper UKs.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now,
And-
did you use black and white shots and tint them, or?
Yes. Yeah. The whole thing's tinted, and I received more emails from people asking me who everybody was on the cover than anything else.
Mhm.
And I know everybody on the cover, and there's some celebrities there from the silent era. William S. Hart in the foreground. The woman in the uniform is a very famous Edwardian performer, and I pulled that one off a program, a playbill from that era. Union Cavalry leader General James Wilson, Buffalo Bill, Billy Burke, the Galinda from the original Wizard of Oz, is next to William S. Hart, and a famous cross-dressing performer is next to Billy Burke.
Wow, I like it. And I take it you had these photos and you just clipped them out with an X-Acto knife, and
No, that's all Photoshop.
it is Photoshop.
This is 2012.
Okay. I didn't know if you went old school on that or not. So
I've done so much animation where I clip things with an X-Acto knife up to 200 to 300 images. One thing I did for Coca-Cola was so insane with X-Acto knife work that I never want to do that again or see it or even talk about it.
all right, I'm going to go back here because we've got Shaun back with us
Whoa.
now, and we'll pick up with the Iron Maiden here.
Sorry about my internet here, folks. Yeah, so this album cover was one of many that literally changed my life. When I was a little kid, before I knew anything about music, we would go to visit my cousins, and they were metalheads in the 80s, and they had posters plastered all over their bedroom. And I remember just being a little kid, just transfixed by these posters, especially the Iron Maiden ones. And I thought, man, if I could ever make a drawing or painting that cool, that'd be so awesome. And that led me to pursue art as a career. So the Iron Maiden covers were all done, the good ones were all done by an illustrator named Derek Riggs. And if you're unfamiliar with Iron Maiden, they have a zombie mascot, and on every album, there's a different theme. Sometimes the zombie is an Egyptian pharaoh. Sometimes he's in a mental institution. On this album, Somewhere in Time, this is when the first Terminator movie came out. It's when Blade Runner came out. So they were following that cool sci-fi theme that was going on in the 80s. And if you're into the band, there's a bunch of Easter eggs hidden in this album from the band's lore and their early days and stuff like that. And this may be my favorite one, but I could have picked any of the 1980s Iron Maiden albums to show off. They're just magnificent paintings, let alone album covers.
Sure. When you say the magnificent paintings thing, one of the things that I've always held is that the 12-inch by 12-inch album cover is like the perfect art medium. I mean, you can hold it. It's almost an interactive personal experience, but yet it's something that's almost suitable for framing. And
yeah, I listened to an interview with Derek Riggs once, and somebody asked him, do you do you paint these large and then shrink them? And he said, oh, no. If you work large and shrink it, you're going to waste time on all these details people are never going to see. So he made these album covers, painted them on the size they were.
Wow. So they went 1-to-1.
Yeah.
Okay. And then here's your stinker, Deep Purple.
Yeah. That just looks like a sperm to me. It doesn't look like Fireball. I think when I was a little kid, I could have drawn a better Fireball than that. So I don't know what they were doing.
Oh my God.
Okay, we're gonna move on. And Frank, this one was your stinker.
Yeah. It's horrid. But I like it. Because I used to, we a band I was in, we opened twice for George, and he didn't show up one time, and the second time he looked just like he looked on the album cover, walked up to the mic, and fell over flat on his face.
Oh,
Guitar
no.
and all.
Oh boy.
And I mean, how many people get to see that, huh?
Right.
It was the greatest performance, and
That's showbiz.
yeah. But I really liked him because he hated showbiz. He hated adoration. He really hated adoration. He hated people telling him, "You're such a great singer and you mean so much." He hated that with a passion, and he rebelled. And I love that. He never played into the system. He never did what he was told, not once. So having never seen him perform while opening up for him, that was amazing. I mean, you play with George Jones, you expect him to sing, at least one song, but he didn't even manage that. But it was around this time. So that look on his face is frightening.
Yeah.
What's he on?
He looks dissatisfied for sure.
And this, I think, predates Thomas the Tank Engine.
Maybe that's where they got the idea. All right.
All right, let's move on. And Matty, this is
Whoa.
one of your favorites.
Good one.
Old David Bowie. This is actually the original cover from The Man Who Sold the World.
So originally the cover for this was this weird, it was like a drawing of John Wayne basically with a rifle, and it had this speech bubble on it that was supposed to say, "Roll up your sleeves and show me your arms," which was this like double entendre with drugs and firearms and everything. And that was deemed too risque, so the speech bubble was left blank. Bowie wanted to name the album, it was like Metropolis, to sound like the old movie Metropolis. And his record label didn't like that. They didn't tell him that they were going to change the name to the name of one of the songs, "The Man Who Sold the World." But I don't know quite the timeline there. He had his doubts about the original that cartoon drawing, so he hired this hip clothing designer in England at the time to make him a man dress, and did this more domestic scene. And it was just tough. Bowie's such a cool looking guy. I could have gone with just about any of his record covers. Like the cover of Heroes, he's doing this kind of kabuki theater pose, and then about 35 years later, he released an album called The Next Day, where he took that same album cover and put a white square over the top of it and wrote The Next Day. Just very kind of postmodern, literally self-effacing. And I don't know, the cover of Low is just a really striking image. Same with Station to Station, pictures from the movie that he was in called The Man Who Fell to Earth. But this one, I don't know. I think what an album cover should do is kind of be evocative, try to evoke some sort of notion about what it kind of colors your perception of the album before you've ever heard it. Right. And this is such a I don't know, like it's weirdly, I guess, serendipitous. The fact that they changed the album title to this, again, I don't know quite how it lined up. I don't know if he knew that they were changing the album title to Man Who Sold the World, but the fact that you have this man who is, I don't know, kind of he's just a little out of sorts, and you know, with the 52 card pickup and everything, it's just I don't know, it's not what you would expect for a man who would sell the world, so to speak. And it makes the album all the more intriguing, especially it's his heaviest album too. So kind of playing with the, you know, kind of the feminine versus like the masculine music. It's just, yeah, it's an interesting mix.
All right.
That one is a great example of, so I had to switch to my phone because of my internet. So I'm looking at this. It's about, you know, an inch wide, and it still holds up at that small size because of the color contrast and everything. And some of the older album covers, they don't make that transition well, but this one does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then it was deemed too risque for American sensibilities. So the US release, to Bowie's dismay, got the kind of Goonie cartoon release. The UK got the man dress photo. There was another version that was released a couple years later after he was Ziggy Stardust. It was a black and white photo of him in full Ziggy mode with his leg way up in the air on stage. There was another weird German version where it was like a hand flicking. It looked like a hand flicking a globe with Bowie's head on the hand and a wing on the hand. It was, I don't know. I found it interesting that it had these different releases too. I've actually got a Portuguese release of it, so I forget how it says it, but it says the album title in Portuguese. So yeah.
All right. And your second one was Motorhead, Ace of
Yeah, I don't know. I think I've picked these heavy albums because it seems like a heavy album has to have heavy art or just impressive art in its own way. And this was one that, I mean, a lot of the songs on this album are about poker and, you know, the rider wearing black and Love Me Like a Reptile. There's a real desert cowboy poker player thing going on throughout.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess originally they were going to do this album cover. It was going to be just like a sepia tone photo of them playing cards. And then they figured, no, we need to we need to up it a bit. So they each tried to dress like a different character. The fellow on the left is going for Clint Eastwood, Fistful of Dollars era. Lemmy, I think, in the middle is going for Maverick, and the other, Filthy Animal there. I forget which one he was going for. If somebody knows, if somebody that rings a bell, shout it out. But yeah, they went out to this sand pit in north of London and rented costumes and took some pictures, photoshopped the sky in there, and yeah, I don't know. It's again, it's just very, it evokes a sensibility that then just kind of carries over the whole album. If that weren't enough, there is a song in The Rider Wearing Black. The first thing that Lemmy yells on it is Western movies. Like, in case you didn't get it.
Subtitles.
Nice.
And then your stinker, Black Sabbath, Paranoid.
I mean, I hesitate to call this a stinker, but it's really bad. I mean, I think I kind of love how bad it is. Kind of like Frank, you know, you gotta love a bad album cover too. But this was actually another case where the record label changed the title. It was supposed to be called War Pigs, which sort of made the funny little warrior guy make some kind of sense. But the Vietnam War was going on. They thought that was a little too controversial, so they changed it to one of the other hits from the album, Paranoid. And I didn't know that for a long time. I always just thought it was this hilarious like idea where, I don't know, you get so out of your mind on what have you, smoking banana peels, and you get paranoid and you think this little guy is gonna come after you. It's just yeah, very, very silly.
Cool.
All right. And now, Mr. Richards.
All right, yeah, okay. So
I-
this is all stuff back in the day, right? Back in the 80s and stuff.
Yeah.
I also think, if music is a time machine, an album cover is a time machine too, because it takes you back to a place, right? So,
Yeah.
And I love this. This is Tears for Fears. It's their first album, and I love that most bands, Beatles or Floyd or whoever, put themselves on the first album because they're told to by the record company because they need to be recognized, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they did this as a piece of art. I love the white space. You focus on the little kid. There's songs in there about depression in kids. I think Mad World is on this album. It's their first album, yeah. So I love I love the use of white space, and as a designer, I also love the use of white space as well. So it's iconic. I mean, and if you think of just the simplicity of that, it's almost like think of the simplicity of iconic albums like Nirvana, Nevermind, or even Pink Floyd, The Dark Side of the Moon. It's like it's one icon that draws your eye to it. So I love that. And again, I love the white space. No one did white space like, of course, the Beatles' White Album, but I thought it was a good one. It takes you back to a time and a place, and without even hearing the music, you know where you were when you first held it in your hand and you read the liner notes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I like that for that reason. So
Wonderful.
Keep
and
it simple.
Second one.
Oh yeah, and Roxy Music. So Rob, you and I talked about Roxy Music before, and I always love Brian Ferry solo stuff, but also the old Roxy Music stuff is great too. He always seemed to have a thing. He was a bit of a ladies' man. But actually, jumping back to something that Matty was saying was like the album cover should take you to a place where it's like outside of the album, but it's setting it up for what you're going to listen to, right? So it's evocative of what is within, right? So most of the Roxy Music albums had a lot of pretty girls, and it was very glam rock. They were wearing like outlandish outfits, or sometimes wearing not much at all, like lingerie and stuff. And Brian Ferry would always date the models. So I guess if you were Brian Ferry's girlfriend, you had about a year until the next album came out, and then you were dumped, right? But the funny thing with this, it's their last album. So the model in this one is actually his wife. So he get married. I think her name was Lucy. And so I think I don't know if she was hoping for like a lingerie shoot or something glamorous, but because it was Brian Ferry's wife, she's wearing chain mail and like a metal helmet. So I think the rules changed when you get married. But it is a great album. I love this album. It's very cinematic, just like the image that's on the front. And yeah, so that was one of my picks. It's always one of my favorite albums. So
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of Wishbone Ash's Argus.
Oh, I don't know that one. Probably about the same time, or was the Wishbone album prior to this?
I'm guessing that they
Roughly
were.
same time.
Yeah,
Roughly, yeah.
I think
70s,
so.
mid-70s, right?
Mid-late
Mid-late?
70s. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
And
Okay,
then
yeah, right. Okay, so going back to what Frank was saying about seeing a band that look cool with their attire. I mean, mullets and plaid jumpsuits are like the opposite of that. I picked this just by chance because it actually mimics like almost every album from the 70s and 80s of bands. Ace of Spades is cool, right? Because they're doing something else, but just that band group shot. The only reason you'd know it's the Bay City Rollers is because of the plaid, right?
Yeah.
But it's such an easy, almost a cop out to put a band in a regular pose where they're either doing this, or they're trying to look cool, or they're trying to look mean, like they're in a back street or a back alley, like they're going to mug someone, which is the only way you can make money from music these days. So, so
That
I'm
money
just
make
using
money?
this as an example of a cop out of a bad album cover where you've got the blue leisure suit or there's nothing else to it, like the bread shot, Julia, that you had, right? The guy with the bread around him.
Oh yeah,
It's
Bread
the shot of the
Alone.
band, but it has an idea to it, right?
Yeah.
So so this is the cop out of all bands who just did a group shot in a really bad pose. So
It's just a bad picture too. Like they don't look good in it.
no. No.
I was looking at this when you sent this to me, Dave. I was looking at it and I'm like, okay, these guys were out in the park on a nice day, sitting around a picnic table, having lunch, and somebody came up with their Kodak Instamatic and said, "Hey, can I get a picture of you?"
In
Exactly.
those days, a photographer would shoot 100 shots at a setting.
This was
And
the best
going
one.
through the
And that's the
proofs,
best of right.
he actually said to this,
Right.
that's it. That's it. That's the magic shot.
That's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
So here's to all the bands who had the cool. Even when you see some band shots, when you look at the local newspaper of bands playing, they're always looking mean and up a brick lane or brick wall. And you can look mean when you're in your 20s, but if you're in your 50s, you just look like a grumpy old sod, right? So you have to smile at some point, right?
All right. Well, I got a few of my own here.
Mm.
And the first one is Husker Du's Warehouse Songs and Stories. And honestly, I never have listened to Husker Du. I've listened to Bob Mould, his solo stuff, and I've heard a little bit of Grant Hart's stuff, but never Husker Du. But I always thought that this was such a cool album. I don't know why. It just grabbed me, and it's always been a favorite of mine.
But it didn't make you listen to the music. So did it?
It's strange. Now, conversely, on the next one, I've heard this album, I can't tell you how many times. And going back to what David was saying about, the image and stuff, and this is just the classic album cover.
There's
And
no type, right?
right. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, and how can you not like it? That's the thing.
It's true.
And I couldn't decide which was the dud. So
Oh man.
Yeah.
I had nothing says get ready to be bored like a Neil Diamond album cover.
What about Hot August Night?
On August night, that says excitement.
Yeah.
If you ask me, he looks like he's either belching or he's just witnessed somebody doing something totally cringe in the audience. So that's what I'm going with.
Funny.
That's Hot August Night 3.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh my God, there were two other ones.
Man, that's awesome. That's awesome.
So if you're looking for some boredom, there
Here
you
we go.
All right.
The many
Well,
moods of Neil Diamond.
we're going to move on here, and we're going to just kind of take a look at some other classic albums and just chime in as you will. The one I wanted to start with, let me
Just leave that up for longer, please.
I do like that.
Did you send me that?
This actually is a cover from 1940. Looks pretty familiar.
Wow.
Right.
This actually was the first produced art for an album. It was produced for Columbia by a guy named Alex Steinweiss. And so did did Storm Thorgerson and Hypnosis, did they get a little inspiration from this, or was it totally by accident?
So Steinweiss is the father of all album covers. So
Yeah.
I think every designer anywhere, whether they know it or not, owe a debt of gratitude to him. He's the one that went to the marketing department and said, hey, you dummies, if you put cool artwork on your packaging, just like every other product, somebody's going to be more likely to buy these products. And they did that, and album sales went up. And then the birth of this new medium for artwork came about.
That's cool.
Wow, I didn't know. Interesting, Shaun.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. That's cool.
Yeah. And, it's kind of, it's interesting because, we look at it, in reverse, going back, because we've seen Dark Side of the Moon. We've seen, stuff like this, but I love it. It even incorporates that piano has almost an Art Deco type of thing to it as well. So it really speaks to the time that it was produced.
But back then, I mean, no internet, right?
Right.
Only design studios had access to to the type of books that this would be contained in.
Right.
Very rare. I always loved going into design studios libraries, because they had these incredibly rare books, 200 copies, 300 copies, and it'd be like that. So I would guess that Dark Side of the Moon was a tribute in a way to this, or influenced by this.
Sure. Moving on, we've got the Fab Four. And interesting, because Nancy M just came on to the chat and said something about Sgt. Pepper when I was a kid. I loved, here we go. And it's kind of fun to look at a cover like Sgt. Pepper. And
Their Satanic Majesty's Request is another good one by the Stones that's in that style. And both were sent up by Frank Zappa and the Mothers with "We're Only in It for the Money." That's a masterpiece. I almost picked that one.
And one of those X-Acto blade pieces that would have taken forever to lay that out.
Yeah. Actually, but the thing was,
are we still talking about X-Acto?
That's right.
Rubber Soul, that was their answer to the Byrds. That was their so-called folk rock album. And in its day, I remember seeing that. I was in downtown Manila. I was a kid. That was my favorite cover at that time. And I remember grabbing it for that reason. Just the cover, not the fact that it was the Beatles. And it seemed so new and fresh and natural and stunningly different from all that was on the the record rack at the time. That one hit me. Someone said Revolver's one of the worst covers ever. I read that recently. I don't look at it that way. I don't know. It might be.
Well, it's interesting because when you look at Sgt. Pepper, I mean, those are actually all cardboard cutouts.
Huge cutouts, yeah.
Yeah, there are a few actual like figures around the Beatles, but most of those are cardboard cutouts. And but to what Shaun was saying, the whole X-Acto thing, there's where you have that on Revolver, is that you've got Klaus Vormann's pen and ink drawing, and then laid over with all of these, meticulously cut out pictures.
I can't look at Beatles album covers because they weigh too heavily as a cosmic force.
Right.
You can't judge them. They're beyond that.
Yeah.
Well, it just, what does it say about this band that, not only were they like on the leading edge musically, but they were on the leading edge visually as well.
I would agree with that. I think I think they kind of gave up when they did the Let It Be album, because that was just going back to the band shot, and even they couldn't all be in the same shot together. It was like four pictures. But I love all this stuff. I mean, this is a time capsule here, right? It takes you way back, right?
Yep, absolutely.
For sure.
Here's a dandy from the 70s.
Okay.
Who did not have this album? And
Everybody, every
me,
child,
I didn't have
every
that.
aunt, every.
I mean,
is this more than a feeling?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I didn't. I probably heard it somewhere, but I didn't actually have the album. But yeah.
You know, the thing I didn't even know until today, the gal that designed this is Paula Scher, and she did a ton of work for Columbia, CBS, Epic, and you know that she's the one responsible for like those first several Cheap Trick covers.
No way.
Those are the greatest.
Yeah. Well, you need the back of the
Why
album.
didn't I put those in?
I thought about it. But you need the back of the album too. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And the story behind those Cheap Trick covers was that CBS needed to trim back spending in places, and album covers was the place to do it. And I remember reading an interview with Paula Scher at one point, and she was saying, you really needed to be creative at the time. And, you know, here Cheap Trick was given their visuals, you had, Robin and Tom, were they were the good looking dudes. And then you had Rick and Bunny, who were kind of the oddballs. And it just made sense to do those covers like that with, Tom and Robin on the front, and then to stick Rick and Bunny on the back. But
You don't have a Cheap Trick in color handy, do you?
I do not.
Because I want to remove my second choice and put that in. I want to throw it out the window.
Yeah. Oh, it hit somebody.
Not too late.
But Paula Scher designed this one. Now, this came out, I believe, a year after Cheap Trick's debut and in color. So,
but does everybody like this cover? I don't like it. I had the album, but I thought it was. And how come there aren't any bands called Green Bay or Oshkosh or Menasha?
Menasha.
Menasha.
Menasha sounds like a thrash band.
Yes.
I briefly had a band called Crosby, Stills, and Menasha, but it didn't go.
Oh,
That's good. I'm in a band called Holy Sheboygan, so.
You still do, don't you?
There you go.
Yep.
I had a band called Cedar Grove, Frank. How's that?
Like the cheese.
You have to have a band called Luxembourg Casco.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this album's okay, but it's a little similar for me to the Beatles, where it's like kind of hard for me to separate it from just the like enormous
20
success
million
of it's just like so ubiquitous. It's kind of hard for me to even look at it as art anymore.
But a cool thing at the time, Cheap Trick was the first band to that I knew who played songs that were 2 minutes or 1 minute and 30 seconds long.
yeah.
Everybody else is still jamming and doing those god awful drum solos, or they were venturing into the world of prog jazz.
Sure.
But Boston fit the bill of the ready for radio 2 minute song, the return of that.
Mm-hmm.
And that was so huge.
Yeah.
I agree. I can't get this is just too big to contemplate.
I think this was designed for black lights.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Frank, given the names of bands named after cities, this one should just grab you, Spooner.
Spooner.
I'm doing their 50th anniversary concert background visuals this summer.
Oh,
Madison,
Where is
July
that? Cool.
12th, be there.
Wonderful. Where's that taking place?
A new venue on Atwood Avenue in Madison. I forgot the name. It's
Okay.
oh yeah,
beautiful
it's
venue.
like Atwood Music Hall or something,
That's
right?
it.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
It's lovely. It's fantastic, and they invited me for encores.
Nice.
Oh,
I
nice.
don't know what we're going to encore with. but-
I actually
Yeah.
own a Spooner album and a single. So
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah. It's. Have you talked to any of them?
not yet.
Oh, you should, because the story's fascinating. The best stories in rock are the bands that almost made it or
Right.
went off the tracks at the wrong time, or their timing was they were 6 months off or something like that.
Yep.
And Spooner fits the bill for a lot of things because they had a lot of real good shots and showcases and
Mhm.
deal offers that they turned down their first deal offer from Arista Records because it was only for singles. It was not, they're going to release 3 singles, see what happened.
Mhm.
And they turned that down. But they have a great story. You got to talk to them.
I
You
certainly
want an intro?
I do. I
Okay.
do. Thank you.
Okay.
Moving on, Cream's
Oh,
Rayleigh's.
wow.
Oof.
You talk about psychedelia.
Yeah,
But
that
when
does
you-
my head in.
When I first saw it, I didn't know what it was.
Man, yeah. I mean, that one just blasts you. But what an album. And then Matty, there you go.
Oh.
I think this is the ultimate parody cover.
Oh yeah.
It's a great
Wow.
album. So weird. I mean, I like in some ways Frank Zappa was as good as the music. His music was as good as the music he was parodying, and I don't know if it got better than this one.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Another iconic cover.
Wow.
Is that like I see? Honestly, like the Boston album, I wasn't really familiar with that either. Is this another one of those like that where it was just ubiquitous?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Swingtown, Jungle
it was
Love,
stupidly.
Jet Airliner.
Okay, it had all
Yeah,
those.
right. That Jet Airliner.
So the big hit album.
Yep.
I wanted to ask our design guys what they thought of that font on the Steve Miller Band typeface.
That is so
Oh.
70s.
I mean, did you guys like it? Shaun, do you like it?
I
on.
do like it.
You do.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
David?
I do. What's that?
Do you like the font?
I do.
Really?
I'm all in for that font.
Okay, it's your final answer, right?
Yep.
Okay.
No take backsies. I like it. It's weirdly like Art Deco-y or something yeah, it's weird, but I like it.
Yeah, it definitely fits the motif. You know, it reminds me too, this cover reminds me a lot of the Journey covers when they started
They are. Yeah.
from
Oh yeah, totally.
Infinity and Evolution and Departure, you know, very much in that vein, that Kelly and Mouse, when those guys were putting out those things, they got their start back with the doing a lot of the Grateful Dead stuff, and then they moved forward, and they kind of kept the connection to a lot of that West Coast, San Francisco area type thing. But Steely Dan's Asia, so minimalist and subtle, but oh man.
I love that.
I honestly did not realize until now that this was like a photo. Like that there was somebody's face there. I don't think I noticed that. I thought it was just a little stripey thing.
It really is interesting though, because going back to Shaun's pick of Breakfast in America, is that I never picked up, before he sent that image to me, I never picked up on the fact that that was all condiments and napkin holders and plates and whatever else in the background. It never occurred to me. So it's great when after all these years, you start picking
You
up
see something else, right?
Yeah.
It's cool.
And you kind of unfortunately lose that stuff now that these images are so small on our phones.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. The art is lost, right?
Yeah.
But moving pictures, I mean, just the way
I thought of this album too, just with all the puns, right? I haven't seen it in years, but they're moving a picture. Someone's shooting a moving picture, and there's another one, isn't there?
Well, the people over in the bottom right, they're being moved by the pictures. So those pictures.
Oh,
Wow.
how many puns can you get in one album cover?
This was so well thought out.
It's like a Far Side comic.
Yeah.
Right.
They're worst, man. What were they thinking?
The thing is, specialized album covers in the 70s were kind of a thing, with the cutouts and how you could, move pictures in and out of, various places. The wheel on the right was kind of on a rivet where you could actually turn it, and you could see these different pictures turn up in various places on the front of that album cover because of the cutouts.
Oh, it had holes in it?
Yeah.
God, it like Swiss cheese, huh? Okay.
So like you see Robert Plant under the L in Zeppelin, you look over and that's lines up.
That's cool.
So what you're saying is you could spin it all the way around.
Yeah.
And come to the conclusion and go, wow, it looked bad the entire way around.
360, right.
I can't imagine how much adding just that simple rivet I did to the production cost of this. Once it was multiplied by all of the albums that had to be produced. And I would love to be a fly on the wall in the marketing meeting where somebody's explaining this budget. Like, really, do you have to have a rivet in here? Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you one thing, that rivet, it actually warped the album because it was too big for the center punch for the album itself, for the vinyl, and it would press down on that. So yeah, there were a number of
hey, Rob.
Yeah.
Nancy M had a great comment. It looked like your high school notebook.
It looks like it, doesn't it?
It totally does. It looks like a bunch of stickers. Like you're just like, ooh,
there you go.
Riveting.
So another specialty cover is Bob Marley's Catch a Fire. And this thing, I don't know if you're familiar with it. It was actually a two-part cover. You can see the rivet where the lighter cover peels back, and then the album was sitting in the bottom part of it.
Wow.
Oh, so that's actually got it.
Yeah.
So it's a sleeve that splits in the middle.
Man, that's great. I love that.
Die cut flame, right? Cool.
For concept, not be beat.
Alice Cooper had the Schools Out record that was
yeah,
where it would fold out to a little desk, and then
oh wow,
I think the record itself came in a pair of pantyhose, like in a record sleeve.
Wow.
Of course.
Man, people, they used to spend money.
Groups hated that record. And I took it way too literally when School's Out Forever.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You don't like that one?
No, I quit school. I never graduated high school.
You took it.
No, I took their message.
You took it to heart.
Yeah, you're like,
Rules out forever. Okay.
Funny.
So this thing got a little expensive to do with all the die cutting and the riveting and everything else. So the cover that they've been using for decades now doesn't even compare. I don't even want to show. It's just it's Marley smoking a spleef, and that's all you got to know. So
oh boy.
What's that?
Is that metal?
this is metal from Pink Floyd.
Oh.
What is that?
It basically it's an ear.
Oh.
Oh wow. I had no idea. Wow.
Oh yeah.
This if you split it in half, the right side of it was actually the front of the cover, and there was no type on the cover. And at least the English version. And so if you bought it as an import, it was just, there were no markings on this cover. And when you opened it up, you had this big ear, and it was kind of funky. Now, the American version of it, they had to put type all over it and ruin it. But and the thing about the English cover as well is it had a texture to it that it was a very tactile thing as well as it being visual. So yeah, this is one of my favorites.
It's really cool.
Wish You Were Here.
Oh, I thought of that one as well.
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Yep. So I ingenious how they got the burn mark in the upper right there.
Yeah.
Carry from the picture.
So there's a documentary, I think it's still on Netflix, about the Hypnosis Studio that did this and so many of the other Floyd covers. And the whole thing's fascinating, but this was a real shot with a real stuntman. They had to light him on fire several times to get the shot. And I can see how these album covers, some of them got very expensive for the kind of stuff they did.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. It looks like it's in a back lot.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's cool.
Dylan's Blonde.
Bob.
Classic.
You know, that's the thing. I look at this and I compare it to the array of Neil Diamond covers, you know, and how many other covers are out there where it's just a picture of the artist and, you know, it's just like, okay, whatever. But there's something about this picture, you know, with it being, you know, blurry and
Frank,
just,
he's got your scarf, Frank. Does that?
That's my scarf. Dylan.
So was this one where they smeared Vaseline on the lens or something like that?
no, that was
No.
Bringing It All Back Home.
Oh, okay. I think they did. I think the Stones did it on Between the Buttons as well.
Yep. And Billy St. John.
Billy. Oh yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, all right.
He's not loving that.
Welcome, Billy.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, this is classic, and you know, for the time, again, other than the Columbia and Daisha on the upper left, I mean, no copy of it.
That was great, right?
Yeah, you just knew it was Dylan. You knew something good was in that package.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Winslow, come here. Come. Here, come.
Oh man, this is
Neon Park
Here, go.
did all
Go.
of these
Yeah,
fantastic
we're gonna go.
covers for
We're gonna go.
Little Feet, and just had, oh, I love his sense of humor. I
Lynn's here.
Yeah.
Lynn's, come here. You want to come say hi?
Yeah.
Quick? Up. No.
And this is just
Oh,
a sampling. I
we
mean,
have-
my
we have a
goodness,
dog?
the other covers that he did, you know, Sailing Shoes and Time Loves a Hero and Let It Roll.
wow.
Yeah.
Come here. Come on.
Man, I love Little Feet.
Up. Come on.
I was trying to find. Did she do sailing shoes too? Because I love sailing shoes with the
Yep.
cake
That one.
on the swing.
Yep, that was the first cover that Neon Park did for them.
Okay.
Yep, and then he did everything else after.
Wow.
And then Roger Dean, the stuff that he did, I don't know what kind of substances he used, but
Look, you want to come say hi? Frank is his dog, so we have
we've
Luna.
got dogs with us.
I know. In a minute.
But Roger Dean, he did a lot of those classic Yes covers and Asia and Gentle Giant, and my goodness, he did Uriah Heep.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Seen that one too. I know which one you mean.
Yeah, I mean, he did some very mind-blowing stuff.
Yes.
Created that classic Yes logo.
Yeah.
And then Hypnosis.
Rob, excuse me, I have to duck out.
Okay,
Thank you, everybody. It's nice to meet
Right.
you all.
See you, Frank.
good to see you.
Bye.
Take care.
Little Floyd, little Peter Gabriel. Yeah.
Yep. Storm Thorgerson, Aubrey Powell, that whole group at Hypnosis, their covers, the imagery always had a very certain look about it. And it's hard to define and put, describe it, but you just knew looking at this cover, this was produced by that studio. The photography,
It's so visually led, right?
Yeah.
There's minimal text, right?
yeah.
Even on Peter Gabriel, there's nothing, right?
I think
Or
what was
Floyd.
that, his second or third solo album.
I love
But-
that.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So, I'm going to take that out of there. Now let's look at a few stinkers here. We'll have some laughs.
Oh, that's awful. Yeah. It's the Beatles.
That's the new Beatles thing.
And it's just it's awful. It's like they did AI with the album cover too.
I looked at this and I'm like, you're joking that this is actually going to be the cover of a Beatles project.
Right. Your last album, your last hurrah, and it's in Times New Roman at 45 degrees with some drop shadow, and that's it. I know.
They should have used that Steve Miller font. Then it'd be
Yeah,
great.
right. Sure, right.
Yeah.
I wonder if this was just thinking about how it would look small as a little Spotify thumbnail.
Maybe, yeah, right. Yeah.
That's sad. I mean, that's no excuse.
Luna, I'm coming. Guys, I'll be back in 2 seconds. I've just got to
Okay.
let out the Dodge here.
Sure.
I'll be back.
So, but this guy apparently that designed it got a very good payment for it.
That's money laundering.
That's how you do it, I guess.
If I can turn out crap like that and make a million,
Yeah, get paid, I'd do it. No, I wouldn't, but
Oh man,
what makes this a bad album cover?
I don't know if anything does. I think that's that's understanding the assignment. Right?
yeah. Yeah, it's looking pretty good to me.
Reaching out to what?
Oh man.
These guys look angry.
Yeah.
The dude in the middle, he
Oh yeah.
Dang.
looks
like he got hurt.
Didn't they kick the guys out once they reached a certain age? They
Yep.
keep yeah, maybe he's on the list. Maybe he knows this is his last day.
Yeah.
Day of the photo shoot. The next day he was gone. All right.
Wow.
How does Emerson, Lake and Palmer go from album covers like Brain Salad Surgery and Works and Tarkus and stuff to this.
I don't know. I kind of like this, I guess. It's so silly. I have no idea what the music sounds like.
Yeah, I just feel like they were like on vacation somewhere and they're like, let's get our yeah.
Now,
Yeah, I have no idea what the music would sound like.
does it bother anybody else that they are not centered in the picture?
They wanted a little sunrise in there.
Yeah.
Now, the Allman Brothers Band, they were traveling around, got out of their station wagon. Let's take a picture, jump back in the wagon and go.
Yeah, that is like your classic like band pick where it's just like, okay, everyone kind of spread out so we can see all your faces, like where they're and everyone's just kind of standing there.
Yeah. All right, we done? All right, let's go.
Yeah, yeah.
Budget cover. But oh man, this I would say kind of fits into that Neil Diamond thing. I mean, to me, I look at this cover and I'm like, okay, I know the Allman Brothers Band, but I don't know. This thing just looks suspect to me.
Well, it looks like, I don't know. They can't, the fact that it's this mix of like that one guy with his hand by his belt buckle looks like he's like that looks pretty spot on for how you would think an album cover would look for the Allman Brothers, but like some of these other guys just looks way too casual. I think it's really funny when bands have pictures where you can just see there's one guy who wore his coolest thing and the other guys who just kind of phoned it in.
David, I'll go back and show you the other ones.
Oh my God, yes.
Yes.
That's a Chess King special. Oh, and that's even worse.
There you go.
Oh man.
Now we're going to go into the dregs.
That's beautiful.
Album cover design. And
That's awesome.
Ken is by request only.
Oh man.
Right. Not too many requests though.
No.
Oh, that's awful.
He does not look happy.
They
Wow.
They had to just cram his name in there too. They had to just really fill up the frame with him. Wow.
Yeah, the glasses string like across his face is stressing me out a little bit.
Devastating Dave.
Awful.
Damn.
Oh, man.
Someone shows that.
He's devastating my eyes.
The turntable slave. Wow.
Oh, I wish Frank was here for these. Gary getting down to business.
Damn. What's in his pants?
You don't want to know.
Are those snow pants? They look huge.
I'm sure he had some snow.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Freddie.
In the Mr. Rogers font. I don't know when this was made, but that's pretty funny.
That is the most metal title ever.
Yeah.
I'll put that up against any death metal band.
Right.
Something special from the Sherwood Singers.
That looks like a funeral home ad. Does it not?
I think somebody was inspired by the Partridge Family here. Just
there's an open casket in that room somewhere.
Well, that's what they perched the camera on to take.
Right? Yeah, probably. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to just go through a few more things here, and these are a little bit more personal to us. So let's take a look at.
Yay.
Nice.
This is Julia's band, Dusk.
Oh yeah, I brought this over. Here's the embroidery that I made.
Nice.
It is here.
Yep, and this is
So you did the whole
speaking.
thing.
Yeah, I made it 12 by 12 too, so kind of like the that
Awesome.
which one? The Led Zeppelin one, or no, not Led Zeppelin. Sorry.
Iron Maiden.
What? Yes, Iron Maiden. Thank you. Made this one 12 by 12, but this took me months to make. It was extremely time consuming because all the little flowers and stuff and the little cows.
Did it take longer to make the album or make the album cover?
Ooh, I mean probably the album, but I don't know actually. Like active versus passive time, who knows? Because the album was a lot of like, just do some parts of it and then I would sit around for a while. But yeah.
I like how your embroidery of the word Dusk became your guys' logo.
Yeah, so that logo actually came about before this, and it was from our first single. I carved these letters out of foam, and we kind of made this like hanging photograph. But then we also took some photos where we put a light right in front of the photos, and then they cast a shadow on the wall, and then we took some we stood beneath that and took some band photos. And then we just hyper contrasted that photo of the letters along the wall, and that's what this is. That's what became our logo.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, it was a kind of a long process, but yeah.
I didn't know you embroidered that. That is super cool.
It's cool.
That's badass.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. It was fun. It was hard. My hands kind of hurt for a while, but I liked it. It was a good thing to do.
So I got to ask now that Glass Pastures is your most recent album.
Mm-hmm.
Where was that picture taken? I mean, to me, that looks like, did you guys actually go out and Winnebago when it was frozen?
We did go out on Winnebago when it was frozen.
Cool.
Yep. Took a bunch of photos. We had 2 film cameras, so we would set the self timers on both, and then mostly Amos was setting the timers and then running around and getting in the photos. But yeah, we took a ton of photos that day. And then we all went to the old grog in Menasha afterwards.
Nice.
Menasha shout out.
Awesome.
Yep.
And there's David's.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Lockmore. Mucho Ditto, and I think I mentioned this to you before, David, but that cover just has a Hypnosis Storm Thornton vibe to it. And I love that.
Yeah.
It's cool, isn't it? It's a buddy of mine. It's an old high school friend of mine who lives in Bondi Beach in Australia, and I think he does mold remediation or something during the week, but on the weekends he shoots all the surfers out on the water. And this was some shot that he had. We actually did a website for him, so I got to see all of his photography. And I like this one because obviously Mucho Ditto means much the same, and I wanted something that people were all in the same uniform. And I love, like you were saying, Rob, just the center back of the person in the foreground there. I put the Lockmore tattoo on the back of her neck, and then I put the type back in a screen so it wasn't right in your face because it's the photograph that leads. And so much the same. It was done in 21 during COVID, so every day was the same. So hence the name,
yeah. And the Tongs Bass.
Tongs Bass, yeah. So that's an old Glaswegian. Back in the day when you walked around the streets of Glasgow, there was a lot of graffiti, and Tongs was actually a gang. So Tongs Bass was their gang war cry. And again, that was during COVID. The shot in the background is more gratuitous, but it was it was like a flower thing in my living room that I just shot one day. But it seemed to work. But I like the idea of tongs, your basket. It ties back into the war cry of the times during COVID, but also it's a nod back to my hometown. So
Yeah.
And a nod to your current town with the green and gold.
With the green and gold, yes, there you go. Has anyone seen that movie yet, by the way? Did you see it?
Oh, I saw it.
Yeah. I actually thought it was good. I was expecting some kind of Packer focused, like heavy green and gold stuff, but it had a nice little story to it. So hey,
Yeah. I liked it.
I thought it was done really well. So there we go.
Oh yeah,
Mr. Shaun, a lot of your work here.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of this is trying to design stuff that would look good either as that little half-inch wide thing on your phone or something that you could, well, I guess really only the new one, as the crow flies, also doubles as a t-shirt design. But a lot of our stuff lately has been doubling as single covers for phones, but also t-shirt stuff. People like to buy the t-shirts, so.
Yep. Now, As the Crow Flies is coming out next week, Friday. Is that right?
Yes, sir. March 21st, album release party at Badger State Brewing. If you could all come along and bring about 50 people, really help me out.
That'd be awesome.
And that's marvelous artwork. Too, and I need to say that on the 21st at noon,
Yeah.
Shaun and the other Gentlemen Grifters will be joining me in the Drop Date Deli on the Into the Music Facebook page. So come and have lunch with us, a little half-hour chat about the new album, and you guys can give us all the details about it.
Nice.
Cool.
Congratulations, Shaun. That's awesome.
I like
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah. That's great, man.
Hey now.
Oh yeah.
Hey.
I love that cover.
That was so the photo was taken by Loretta Crow, again at the PAC. We took quite a few shots, but yeah, I wanted to make sure we had some of the empty shots in the foreground, kind of self-deprecating, but then it gave that I don't know. I don't really know the music of Lana Del Rey that much, but I kind of like her record covers too.
Mhm.
And that was kind of what it felt like to throw the album title across the bottom of the stage there. And then the bottom, it just seemed like there was a bit too much space in the foreground there. So the designer, Jake Phelps, he asked if there was anything I thought we should put there or anything like that. And I kind of had this weird pseudo subtitle for the album of Songs for Everyone and No One. And then we just put that on there as well.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
That's great.
So,
I'm actually singing there. I'm like we did shots of me just looking like I was singing, but no, I was just belting out in the empty PAC. It was a riot.
what were you singing?
Just a giant la, pretty much.
And I look, Alex and Sam are perfect.
Oh yeah,
They look so good.
I picked up those Dickies uniforms off of Craigslist like the day of, pretty much.
Wow.
The scroll was from Tom Smith here in Green Bay. He had it as a joke that his daughter had used, a prop for a joke his daughter had used. His daughter's a stand-up comedian, and it was this list of all the different people that he met, like different rock stars he's met and things like that. So on that list, all these funny names. I was hoping you'd be able to see it a little bit in the picture, but it's there's just a secret detail. But then I went to some craft store and made it look a bit more scroll like, because it was literally just a piece of roll of wax paper. So, yeah.
Well done.
Awesome.
Thanks.
And I have a couple of my own.
Right.
Wow.
So these are a couple of things I used to do, and I don't discount doing it in the future. There's a thing out of New Hampshire called the RPM challenge, where you basically record an album's worth of original music in the month of February, and then you drop the album on March 1st. So I did this twice, and the first one is the spoof of the Dark Side of the Moon there, but I call it Dark Side of the Moo.
Very cool. Of course.
And the cow, if you're not familiar with it, is from another Pink Floyd album called Adam Hart Mother.
Oh yeah.
And so I flipped the cow over horizontally and got the two light beams to do what they're doing. And
Now, does that work if you shine light into a real cow?
I've never tried it. I would imagine on a dark night.
Maybe, yeah.
And then the other one, that was from 2019, and the other one was from 2020. And I just was thinking up a stupid sentence. What can I call this thing? And the image was from like Shutterstock or something. I had used it to mock up something and for somebody else, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna use it. And so I got like this pseudo existential thing. Are you sure you're not where you are? And so that's all that is.
That's cool. Awesome, man. Yeah, I remember you saying about that thing that you had to do songs in a month, right?
Yeah.
In a month, yeah. That's a fun idea.
Well, folks, I really appreciate you taking the time tonight to come and talk album covers. I mean, this thing is you can go on so many rabbit trails with this, and just read that. There's so many great artists. I mean, doing the covers, and it's something that we could definitely, revisit down the road and talk more on. But as it is, it's kind of getting late here. I wanted to kind of keep this to an hour, but we're going to go around the horn here and just sew it up. So, Julia, where can people find you online?
You can find us. Well, yeah, Dusk is on Bandcamp and Instagram. Dusk on Instagram is our Instagram. I'm Rulia Blair, just my name, but with an R instead of a J. And also crutchmemory.com. That's the website for my record label that I run with Amos and Chloe, two other people. And yeah, check it out. That's where we design record covers and put out records. And yeah.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
David, where can folks find you online?
Okay, so I'm not really big on Facebook, but I do have a Lochmore page. But if you go to lochmore.com, that's LOCHMHOR. And again, if you have to spell your band name, you didn't name it very well. But go to lochmore.com, and it actually goes back to the album art. I have liner notes there too, because I love to see who played what and everything else. So I call them on liner notes. So it's the inside of the album that never actually got made into vinyl. But yeah, go to lochmore.com, and I've got some new songs coming out. I was recording some stuff last week, so hopefully by my birthday's in May, so I'm hoping by May we should have something out. So
all right. And who do you got playing with you on this next project?
Don't know yet. I was just doing the scratch tracks and just kind of putting the songs together, and a friend of mine who plays bass came over, so we're just kind of laying down the guts of it all. So
wonderful.
Yeah.
All right. I hope it goes good.
Thank you.
Sean, how about you?
thegentlemengrifters.com. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Yeah, check us out.
Wonderful.
Cool.
And look forward again next week to that new album dropping.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And
The podcast too.
you bet. Where is the release gig again?
Badger State Brewing, 6:00 Friday.
All right. You got it from the man. And Matty, where can folks find you online?
My website is matthewtday.com. I'm on Facebook at Matty Day Verified, Instagram at MTDay, that's EMMTEEDAY, YouTube, Bandcamp. I play in Hang 10. That stuff's out there. We have new songs coming out. I have gigs coming up with Rodeo Borealis and Country Holla, the latter named David, so I wouldn't have to tell people the genre of the band for once.
All right.
And playing with Corey Chisel coming up too as well.
Great. All right.
And I get to be a wishbone breaker for a show coming up. Really excited. Dirt camp this year.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. And as for myself, everybody knows intothemusicpodcast.com. New shows come out every Wednesday, and you can hear it on Outhouse Radio Saturday afternoons at 2:00 Eastern Time and 91.1 The Avenue, 8 p.m. on Sunday nights. And if you're inclined, support the show any way you can. Share it. I've got a virtual tip jar that you can help support the show at too. So it goes to supporting these live streams as well. So folks, thank you for joining me tonight. I appreciate your time. For those out watching us on YouTube, and whether you're catching this live right now or you catch it down the road, thank you for watching and certainly appreciate it, and wish you all a good night.
Cheers, Rob.
All right.
Thanks, Rob.
Bye. Thank
Okay,
you.
everybody.
Thank
Bye now.
you.